Coming to you live from the Business Radio X studio, it's Franchise Marketing Radio, brought to you by IDS, an award-winning digital marketing agency that delivers integrated marketing solutions for franchisors, franchisees, and franchise development teams. Learn why over 75 brands depend on IDS's team of dedicated marketers and client service professionals to deliver a strong ROI on their marketing investment. Go to idsfranchisemarketing.com for a complimentary digital audit and consultation.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Franchise Marketing Radio. I'm your host, Rob Ganley, and today I have Adam Long with me. He is the president of HomeTeam Inspections. Adam, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
It's great to have you. So tell us a little bit about HomeTeam. Tell us about the brand, who you're serving, and how you became president, how you started with them.
Of course. HomeTeam is a great brand. In fact, we just celebrated our 30th anniversary as a franchise. What HomeTeam does is it brings professionalism to an industry that's not very professional. Home inspections, in most cases, are a lot of mom and pops, and some are very good, but a lot of them are not so much. And it's one of the most important and largest purchases in a person's life. And so we think it's very important that they choose the best home inspector, not just the best home inspector, but actually the best team of home inspectors. So our name, HomeTeam, is what differentiates us from other home inspection companies. We actually bring 2 inspectors to the inspection rather than 1. This saves time for everybody involved, lets the inspection be done quicker, and has 2 sets of eyes to make sure you have 2 experts inspect your home for the same price of a regular home inspection.
You know, and home service is funny. I was kind of chuckling when you answered, because I do talk to some brands like HomeTeam, and certainly the home services sector covers a lot of ground, right? But that is a consistent theme, is the professionalism part. The fact that I guess you're dealing with a lot of, or your competitors, in a sense, would be a lot of independents, right?
It's very true. In fact, a lot of people may not realize that many states in the United States do not have licensing for home inspections, meaning anybody in certain states can become a home inspector and do a home inspection in your home without any insurance, licensing, et cetera. Now, most states have implemented licensing over the years, but when HomeTeam started off 30 years ago, almost none had licensing, and still there's over 20 states that do not have licensing. So it's important in those states especially to make sure you're choosing the right home inspector and that somebody is not only professional, but they have the credentials to actually inspect the home.
Interesting. So just to kind of stay on that, just for my own understanding. So if that were to occur in a state like those 20 states, there's probably a lot of risks then for the homeowner if they're not doing it right, or they're misled some way, or the person's not fulfilling their role the right way, and documentation and things like that. Is that a big concern? Is that a big factor?
It is. If you think about 30 years ago when home inspections, was first starting out, it was very common for just, hiring somebody or a construction person or electrician to do the home inspection, or just maybe using a friend or an uncle that knew a lot about homes. And as we progressed, states have realized that, just having anybody do a home inspection is not good. And so they've implemented these licensing, but not in every state. So in those states that are not licensed, that's exactly what can happen. You can hire somebody, even though they say they're a home inspector, they may not have any credentials. They may not have done any type of education to become a home inspector. But even more importantly, what do they have to protect you if they miss something? They may not have errors and omissions insurance. They may not have other proper insurances. And so you're taking a big risk. And so we work with realtors and clients alike to make sure that they understand when you hire a HomeTeam home inspection company, not only do you get 2 inspectors, but you get 2 inspectors that, if in the state, are licensed. And if they're in a state that's not licensed, they have other credentials through other organizations to ensure that they're going to do a great inspection. And they're not going to worry about things being missed or having an issue with it down the road.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's on the list of most stressful things to deal with, but when you're buying and selling homes, it's up there. Like it matters that much. And there's so many little details, and you need to make sure that and I'm sure there's lots of reasons for inspections. But that's a big one, I guess, right? When you're preparing to sell or buy, you need to have those things taken care of, right?
It's the main reason that somebody gets a home inspection is during a real estate transaction. And because the average person doesn't sell their home but every 5 to 7 years, very few clients are experts in home inspections. They just see it as another thing that gets done. And unlike a lot of other aspects of the home that might just be a checkbox, if you hire the wrong home inspector, you may have somebody that comes in and doesn't do a good job. And then all of a sudden you've purchased a home and you're going to have to deal with those problems down the road. And that's where the professionalism of realtors come in. Finding a realtor that's working for you, that recommends a home inspection company that's going to do a good job and make sure that they do meet the expectations that are necessary. And like I said, 30 years is still pretty new in this world that we live in. And so if you think about it, if home inspections are only 30 to 40 years old, we're still getting to that point of professionalism where people are realizing this is important. I need to hire the right company. And that's where HomeTeam franchise comes in.
I that's the first thing I think of. I mean, I think of it as like investment protection. Like, how else would you know what you're getting is good, right? It could be some underlying things you don't know about. And I saw from your website, you cover all those angles, right? Anything that could affect the value of your home or the situation with that transaction. So that's amazing. So let's dive into the business model a little. Let's talk about franchises and marketing. So I know two elements that I know are probably near and dear to you are taking care of your franchisees so they're successful in their local markets, and then of course expanding where you guys are. I know you've been growing a lot, and you've been winning some awards for what you guys are doing in local markets and different places. Tell us a little bit about how you help a franchisee get started in the local market. What does that onboarding process look like? What are the key ingredients that are most important, and especially from a marketing standpoint?
Of course, great question. The first thing we're doing is we're looking for the right person. So when we have the discovery process where the franchise prospect is looking at HomeTeam as an option or as a choice that they're looking at to purchase a franchise, we want to make sure that we find the right person and that we're not signing an agreement with just anybody that wants to own a franchise. So we very much are looking at this as a joint partnership, and that we're vetting out that franchisee just as much as they're vetting out us. So once we've found that right person, they think HomeTeam is the right thing for them, we think they're the right thing for HomeTeam, then we partner together, and that's where the support comes in. And we have a lot of that support because of the tenure of our staff. Our owner has been with the company for 30 years since he founded it. I've been with the company for 18 years, and we have a number of employees that have been with the company 5, 10 years or more. And so because of that longevity, we not only have the ability to support, but we have a lot of knowledge that we can relay to those franchise owners. And so what we're doing is we're not looking for somebody that necessarily has a background in construction or a past electrician or a plumber. Sometimes that happens, but we're really looking at somebody that understands how to service people, how to meet the needs of clients. And what they're looking for is they're looking for a professional transaction. Yes, we train our franchisees on how to do inspections. They get the licenses and the certifications that they need and are necessary to do the inspection. But at the end of the day, we also want people that understand how to communicate, how to talk to others, how to follow processes and procedures. And we teach them all those things. That's the inspection side. And the flip side, we also teach them how to do sales and marketing. How do you build relationships? Most of the referrals are coming from real estate agents. So we help them and share with them the knowledge of how to build relationships with realtors so that they will recommend you to their clients. And the clients, of course, are the ones that pay for the home inspections. So it kind of comes full circle there.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, and that type of mind, you hear that a lot in business, especially home services. But I love that the clarity of who you can partner with, right? Because that's like the real estate industry, your number one integration partner, right? When I think of integration marketing, that phrase is like, I've got something great, you've got something great, together we're better and we can help your client, So, and what's in it for them is obviously better service clients, getting things done quickly, predictability, showing up, being professional, right? I would think that's critical for the real estate market. So having your team to be a part of that, and that's a great marketing strategy, right? Which has to be taught. Is common sense is what I just said is. If you're an independent guy, you might not even think that. I mean, maybe you do. I mean, but there's a way to do that. There's a way to do that effectively with the right real estate firms and to really get results for your business. So that's great. So that's a big part of getting going in the local markets. What else is important? Obviously the home services business, you've got a lot of review portals, Angie's List. You've got, of course, Google. Tell me how you deal with that. What is sort of the foundation? How do you approach that when you get someone going or started? What's most important to you guys?
No, it's a good question because, this is a, business to business to client type of business, and that we are interacting with realtors. But at the end of the day, the client makes that decision. They're the ones that hire the home inspector. And so even though a lot of our business comes from referrals, a lot of it comes directly from clients as well. And so you asked that question, which has been, very important for a number of years, but specifically the last 5 years or so, which is how do they find you on the web? And so we actually have something that we provide called a digital marketing package. This was something that, based on my background, which is actually technology and marketing, before I got into the franchise business, was something that I saw, back in the early days of technology, that our franchisees would eventually be very important to them. And so we put together a package where we partner with multiple organizations to provide these services, not only web services and internet optimization services, but specifically services around reviews, how to get reviews, how to propagate those reviews, how to make sure that when a client goes online and searches for a home inspector in your particular area, that not only HomeTeam comes up, but the website and the reviews and everything are basically collaborative with that referral that they got from realtors to make sure that you're getting the right person. Because at the end of the day, not only are you inviting this person into your home as a seller, or the home that you're looking to purchase as a buyer, and you want that professionalism, you also want to make sure that it's not just an inspection and then we go. It's an inspection, then we can answer questions. You're going to get a really nice report, and you're going to get the full spectrum of home inspection services from that person. And what better way to find out than what you mentioned, online reviews. And so we put a lot of focus to make sure we get those. And our franchises have tremendous online reviews. The average franchise has a 4.9 on Google and the other different options there. And we do a lot to make sure that clients will give those reviews as well. And we teach our franchisees how to, talk to them at the inspections and things such as that to generate those reviews quickly and efficiently.
Yeah. So important. I mean, when you think about marketing today, we started with the idea of integration marketing, B2B partners and joint ventures and things. But in order to get that done, you've got to have a reputation online. I mean, generally. And being part of a brand helps, being part of HomeTeam. But then, that local market, like what's going on there, and that's what people see, right? Almost instantaneously. So it's proven that there's a boomerang effect, that if they get to know you through some other referral, they're going to Google you. Mm-hmm. And that type of approach to optimization, I'm sure you know this, is pretty easy to do. It's not, it's kind of, you can check those boxes. It's not easy to be visible for everything someone might search, but if they already know your brand and you, then you coming up is something you can control. And that's something that's important to focus on. So for that reason, because they hear about you, then they go back and they Google your name or your specific, the franchisee's name potentially. So that's an important, very important part. And I also noticed on your site, which was very interesting, that there's a lot of, like I said to you earlier, when you're buying and selling a house, there's a lot of details there, hidden concerns. the word mold, right? That word, right? That comes up in your mind. You're like, I certainly don't think I have any problems. I think I had that flood, whatever it is, but you want to know there's someone there that can look into all the different things, air quality. I saw that on your site. So there's a lot of things you guys talk about and do. Tell me about how that helps with the business. Because when I think of growing a local business, I think of being able to first find that first client and that first homeowner. Obviously, with good reviews and good work, you can get referrals and work with other people that homeowner may know. But how important is it to have other ways to help that homeowner to generate potentially more income through that relationship?
That's a great question. So HomeTeam actually owns the trademark "One Call Does It All" with home inspections. So we utilize that on our website and our marketing materials, et cetera. And what that means is it really embodies what HomeTeam is all about, is that one call and we'll do it all. And it's not just that one call will make it easy to schedule inspections and make sure that everybody's aligned for that home inspection that's, taking place in someone else's house. So you've got to allow, make sure all the parties are on board and the realtors know when to come. But it's also all the services we provide. So when someone orders a home inspection, a standard home inspection, you're looking at the roof and the foundation, the structural, the HVAC, things such as that. But as consumers have become more savvy, they realize that there's a lot of other things that they care about as well. Water quality, whether the house has mold, radon, all these different environmental inspections, but also things such as sewer scopes. Is there something in the sewer lines that I need to know about? Those types of services, which are not standard with a home inspection, are something that not only a client can find more about on our website or through a conversation with a realtor, but also if they're doing the online scheduling as well, they can choose those additional what we call ancillary services to their home inspection to make sure that not only are they getting the standard home inspection report, but that we're reviewing some of these other options that might be very important to them and especially their family when it comes to environmental inspections.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. The kids, right? Like you could,
the kids are drinking
I learned. Funny you mentioned radon. I didn't even know what that was when I had bought. I think it was I was buying. I think it was one of my first single family home, and it was on farmland. It was a farm, and so there was a risk that radon would be very high, and it was, and they had to install fans and different things to mitigate it. But I'm like, I didn't even know what that was, and just hearing about it was like, and we had a new baby, so like you really do, it really does matter. So that really helps the franchisee. Multiple services, really we handle it all. We can make sure that investment is protected or that sale is protected. And so that's great. That's a great help. Of course, Google's part of the formula. Partnering with real estate is part of the formula. Tell me a little bit about nowadays, social responsibility or social marketing is a phrase that would get confused with social media marketing, but social marketing is more about getting out there in the community and trying to give back, right? And I know a lot of franchise brands try to find ways to do that, whether it's just organically, just having the franchisee interact more and partner with different organizations. But tell me a little bit about how you guys approach the community, just kind of helping the franchisee get entrenched. It sounds like obviously you're helping families and you're also helping other businesses. So tell me a little bit about how that looks for you guys.
No, it's a good question. So our franchises are also very involved in the community, as you can imagine, because, buying and selling a home is usually transitioning somebody, whether it's into the community, into a different part of the community or out of the community. The point is that home buying purchase is coming into interaction with a lot of people, especially people that are coming into a community. And so it's already a very community driven type of world. And we partner with other people in that world of community because realtors, bankers, anybody you think with that kind of transaction. But in addition, a lot of our franchises partner with some of our national partners. And I'll give you an example, one of which is Keller Williams. So HomeTeam is an approved vendor for Keller Williams, which of course is a very, very large real estate company throughout the country. And Keller Williams has every year what they call Red Day. And Red Day is basically a day where they take a day of service to help in the community. So all the realtors for their branch will take the day off and they'll do a service project. Sometimes this is, fixing up a home or building a home with Habitat Humanity. Sometimes this might be giving back to a particular community project, working with a school that needs help or funding or painted or whatever it may be. Well, we have partnered with them so that our local franchises also participate with Red Day. Well, first of all, we're both red, so that made it easy. HomeTeam has red shirts. Keller Williams has red shirts. So what we do is we partner with Keller Williams to basically work on these Red Days. And so our franchises across the country also take the day off and work with these realtors. And it allows twofold. One, it allows them to be part of a bigger organization in the give back. So instead of just their company and their few inspectors trying to get together, they're partnering with Red Day, which is all of these realtors as well, and they can do much larger community projects. And so a lot of franchises involve themselves with that, or they found other companies as well that they can partner with. But the goal is collaboration and really giving back to the community. And we encourage all of our franchises to do that, whether it be Red Day or whether it be another organization, that they're taking not only their money and giving it to that organization to help them, but also specifically their time, and that it's always community driven, that they're doing something in the community that's visible, that people can actually see and connect with the whole home buying process in the world of residential real estate.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I love Keller Williams. I love the book. Okay. I love the one thing. That's something that I think me and some business partners, we talked about it for a few months. We would have a regular weekly meeting and we pick a business book. And I remember the one thing was a big focus for us. And I think it's so relevant today. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about technology, right? And how your overall, like, I know with COVID, right? A lot of things were disrupted, right? We had to start thinking outside of the box in the franchise industry a little bit. So I wanted to ask you a little bit of how that might have affected you guys. You've doubled your size in the last 7-8 years, I believe I read. But so clearly you're growing. Curious though how that might have affected your technology decisions or anything you might have innovated around. But also the idea being keeping it simple, right? Keeping it like the one thing is very much about let's not get distracted by shiny objects. Well, heck, that's awful hard. The one thing would have applied 30 years ago. It really applies now. But tell me a little bit about how do you deal with, one, you want to use technology to improve things and really move the needle, but two, not being too much distracted by too many things. So what are your thoughts on that? Did anything change over the last few years technologically for you?
And I've got a few thoughts. First, I'll mention that one thing, that book is actually something that we give to every new franchise, and we actually utilize it in our training. And not just because it's written by Gary Keller, but because the principles behind it are very beneficial to a franchise owner, very much focusing on the next thing, the most important thing of that day, that week, that month, that year, and then pushing forward on that. Just like the domino effect it talks about in the book, you can hit over a domino the size of Mount Everest, but not by yourself. You have to hit the first domino and kind of move that domino effect. So we use that book with our franchise owners. That's been very impactful, and I think it speaks to our technology. So my background, like I said, is actually technology, computer science. So I was hired originally in 2004 to manage technology for the company and actually to create a new software for our inspectors to use out in the field. And of course, as you can imagine, I've kind of moved around and up in the company. But the important part to think about with home inspections is that at the end of the day, you don't want the technology to get in the way. And a lot of times there's these, fancy new devices or new things that people might think are important. But at the end of the day, it is an individual, or in our case, a team of individuals that are visually inspecting the home. They're looking at the home, they're walking through the home, they're looking, analyzing, et cetera. And there are tools that can be used to benefit that. There's moisture meters, there's things such as that to analyze once you've seen something. But you don't want to just take those technologies. I use drones as a good example. Back when drones came out, they were very popular very quickly in the home inspection industry. Everybody had a drone. Well, they realized pretty quickly, number one, you have to have a drone license to legally utilize a drone for your business. And number two, drones crash. And so instead of utilizing drones for every inspection as a fancy toy to show off, we very specifically only use drones when necessary. We use other tools. We use ladders. We use something called an ice stick, which allows you to look up at a top roof. And we will use drones, but we don't just go to an inspection and fly a drone around every single time. So rather than use technology to make it look like you're doing something exciting, we are very careful about using technology when it's necessary, when it's needed, and in particular homes, we'll implement those technologies. And that's really everything that we've done. We also have to realize that home inspections are a visual inspection, and especially in those states where they're licensed, there's very specific things that you're looking for, and there's also very specific things you're not looking for. We're not knocking down walls. We're not tearing floors up. We're doing a visual inspection, very similar to like a general practitioner, where we're looking for issues. And if we see something that we think is a major issue, then we're going to recommend that you call an electrician or a plumber or a foundation expert or something like that to come in and do a secondary view. That's really what home inspections are all about. And that's the fundamentals. Technology just allows us to do them more efficiently, and in some cases, use tools that will help us in that visual inspection.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly the answer that makes the most sense. And we have more and more of this technology out there, and without using it to look at what is it you're trying to do with it, like what is it changing for you, and where exactly should you use it? Like you said, drones only when we have a certain circumstance, and then you're using it because it's helpful. And that makes perfect sense. And to say it that way, to be able to say that to a customer, you already made me feel more confident. You guys were, hey, all right, cool. You'll pull that out if we need it, right? Good. So staying with the one thing, I appreciate your time today. And as we wrap things up, I always like to ask, especially when you're a leader, is there one thing, right? That's a good way to say it, that you've like to manage by, lead by? Is there something that you're always reinforcing, especially with a new employee or new team members?
So there is, and it's actually another book that we utilize for training. We only use 2 books, so you've already named one of them, so I'm going to name the other one. And that book is The Go-Giver by Bob Burg. And so if you haven't read that book, or if you have, it's basically the concept of, you give before you receive. And in business, that is so uncommon. Most people think that you have to, try to get what you're getting out of it. You got to ask for things. You got to go sell hard. But if you truly are offering something that is beneficial and advantageous to somebody, then it will make you successful. And I think that really aligns with what we're trying to do. Because if you think about it, we're helping clients. We're helping clients know about their homes prior to a purchase. We're helping realtors. We're helping realtors have a smooth transaction as they're helping that buyer purchase. And even sellers, we're helping sellers from the standpoint of also having a smooth transaction. So if you think everybody we're working with, we're giving our knowledge, we're giving our tools, we're giving this information. And if at the end of the day, if we're doing all that giving, then it will come back with extraordinary results. It will help our franchises be successful. So we're looking for people that are like-minded in that standpoint, that they want to help people. The first question we don't ask is, how much money do you want to make, or how powerful do you want to be, or how big do you want your company? Those things can come, but the point is that do you want to give back to the community? Do you feel comfortable knowing that you're helping people? And then when you walk away from that home inspection, you realize that I've helped that first-time homeowner, or maybe that seventh-time homeowner that's looking to downsize, or maybe that person with a child that has asthma, make sure that they know that the air quality or the water quality is good. It's really a great feeling. And so we look for people that are getting into the business to help others more than they help themselves. And if you've read the book, the great thing about that is if you do it that way, you'll get the benefit as well. You'll also have a successful business, successful life, et cetera. So that's the principle that I utilize. It's the principle that we teach our franchises. And it's really what we're looking for in potential owners.
I love that. And I do have that book. They're 2 of my favorite books.
Reading the same books. I like that.
It's very true. And I think in the context of the way the internet has been built, and then we used it as a platform to communicate and market, it is very much about giving first. It makes sense. It's easier to do. That's why I think it was done that way with software. A guy like you would know, building software, a lot of times as it became an internet-based concern, it was easier to give. Google is a good example. They gave. A lot of the stuff that you use with Google is free, and some of it isn't anymore, but a lot of it started free. But the idea of, hey, let me impact your life in a positive way. If you like it, there might be more for you here if you'd like to. But it is very much about giving first. I just think that the buyer is buying that way, the principle's there for other reasons. I believe in it. I believe in giving anyway, right? Just in living that way. And I think business is a huge part of that. But just in the way the internet works, I think buyers are conditioned to feel like, hey, how do I know I can trust you? The reviews is one thing, but really being able to have that approach to things, right? Always giving, always leaving people better off than the way you left them, right? Even if they're not doing business with you, right? No matter how you're interacting, you're always helping. So I love that idea. I think it all does work out well when you approach things that way. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And so before we end the show today, can you share a website with folks where they can learn more about the brand and the opportunity?
Of course. Our website, like our name, is HomeTeam.com. Very simple. You go there and you can type in your local zip code and find more about us. And if you're interested from a franchising standpoint, also a simple website, HomeTeamFranchise.com.
It was great talking to you. I appreciate you having me on today.
No, thank you so much. It was great talking to you. Great questions. And glad I could share some of my insight, my background, and a little bit about HomeTeam.
Appreciate it. That's Adam Long from HomeTeam. Thank you so much, Adam.
Thanks so much, Rob.